So, my name is Carlos. I'm a registered amateur boxer here at Flash Enterprises and a master's student at Cal State Los Angeles. Today we'll be conducting an oral history with George Kid Flash Diaz. And George is a former professional boxer and now a boxing trainer and businessman with over 30 years of experience in the sport. He's worked at world-renowned gyms like Wildcard and Tengu's. And today, he serves as a head trainer at Flash Enterprises Boxing Academy. George has been my coach for over a year, and he was in my corner during the Golden Gloves Regional Final. What's up, George? How you doing?
How's it going?
Good. So I'd like to start by you just telling me about your childhood and where you grew up. What's your background?
I grew up here in the San Fernando Valley, North Hollywood, North Hills, Granada Hills, Arleta, Panorama area, Van Nuys.
Yeah.
So, and it goes on. When the older I get, the more I move around the valley. But most of my childhood was maybe on Panorama, North Hills, and Van Nuys area. So, Arleta. So.
What about your parents? Like where they're from?
Oh, my dad is from Colombia.
Cool.
He came here back in the 70s, same as my mom from Guatemala.
Okay.
So they've been here for quite some time.
Nice. And do you have any brothers, siblings?
I have a younger brother, also a former fighter.
Yeah.
He's also my partner with the gym with me as well. So he has an impact in the gym.
Absolutely.
Not too involved, but he also has his own little background in fighting. He had a few fights as well, so amateur and professional. So
that's awesome. And how did boxing come into your life? Do you remember like your first experience in the gym and like your first fight, spar?
The first time we started boxing, I think it was like the late 80s, early 90s, like maybe 90 or 89. My dad just bought gloves and basically threw me in the living room with my brother, and just basically go and just scrap with him, and my brother used to get the better out of me. So I was a little defenseless because I was not really the athletic type. I used to play piano before I did boxing.
Yeah.
Nothing major in music, but it took a few years of music. We thought that was going to be a thing, but I think I was not mature enough to pick up the music and at that time. So when I did box a little bit more serious, I think boxing was more something that I enjoyed because I was not a physical kid.
Mm-hmm.
I was very introverted. So I think boxing kind of made me a little bit more sociable.
Yeah. Would you say boxing gave you like more confidence in yourself?
Yes.
Okay. And why is that?
It's just I know they call him toxic masculinity nowadays, but I became a little bit more masculine because I was a very timid kid. Mm-hmm. I really didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I mean, I'm talking about elementary school, like from kindergarten to like third grade. I was not as sociable. I had a couple friends that were I considered best friends at the time, but before that, I used to cry going to kindergarten. So I went to preschool as well, but at kindergarten, I used to cry before they dropped me off. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't really comfortable being around a lot of people. So.
Yeah. Cool. And when was the first time like you went to like a boxing gym and like spar?
A boxing gym.
Did your dad push you, or like? Cause I know you.
No. My dad basically introduced boxing to us. He didn't really push us.
Yeah.
In training, he did. So it wasn't like you had to train. He wanted us to be better. Yeah. But at the end of it all, the choices were basically ours, or should I say mine, because my brother was into it, but he was a little not as committed as I was. I had to be very technical because I was very small. Mm-hmm. So I think the first gym I ever saw that was actually a boxing gym was the 10 Goose. At the time was the Goosens. That's how I knew it.
Oh, okay.
It was very private. Mm-hmm. It's not what it is now. So a lot of gyms pop up now in the valley that is more business than producing.
Okay, I see. Mm-hmm. And do you remember like your first time being in a ring, actually fighting like someone that wasn't your brother? Do you have any recollection of that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it was the House of Champions that
Yeah.
we went to. It was it's still around. It was a martial arts. They had different martial arts.
Oh, okay.
Boxing was not really the main concern what they focused, but they had trainers.
Okay.
So yes, that was the first time, and it wasn't it wasn't great. One of the first trainers that we actually boxed with, it wasn't bad, but after we started sparring kids more close to our age or around our age, it was rough. It was rough.
I see. And I know, like, did you have like an amateur career?
Yeah, I had about 16 amateur fights, not that many.
When would you say like you started fighting to like, from the time you started fighting to when you became a professional? What was that gap like?
Maybe it was, if I started boxing in, I can't recall, mid-90s. If I'm thinking 94, 95, I gotta look at my book.
Yeah.
I don't remember. And then I turned professionally in 2001.
Okay.
Right after high school, so it wasn't really.
You were a young pro.
Yes,
Yeah.
and not in a lot of ways. I think I should have had more amateur fights, but it's very different then than it is now.
Why did you decide to turn pro? Was that like your coach, your dad, yourself?
It was myself.
Okay.
At the time, it was myself.
Yeah.
I was. That was. I was not really a school buff. I was not really. I really didn't graduate high school, get no high school diploma. I was supposed to go get my GED, but I kind of like left it out because I was so busy. The commitment was basically staying in training, staying in the gym, be in shape. So I kind of left everything out. School was not something that I looked forward to.
Was boxing like pretty much your full-time job? That was like the way you were looking at it?
Yes. When I turned pro, I wasn't gonna let nobody stop me. I turned professional 6 months out of high school.
And what inspired you to keep boxing, like taking it like seriously? Like what are like some of the
you know,
biggest challenges you faced turning professional and actually?
My biggest challenge is that I was sparring professional fighters at a very young age. Like I'm gonna say 11, 12, 13 maybe that I remember. Gabriel Relas was probably the bigger name. The first guy I stepped in the ring was a very known him. His brother Rafael Relas, Oscar De La Hoya were basically role models for us, even though they were Mexican, Mexican Americans, Mexican American, but those were kind of like the role models. Even though at the time when I was boxing, before them it was like Mike Tyson, Larry Holmes, Ali. Those were the guys that my father, his two favorite fighters, or one of his favorite fighters from Colombia was Antonio Cervantes, Kid Pambele. He spoke highly of him, that he was a legend in Colombia. Yeah. But he wasn't really known in the States. Yeah. So,
but I mean, is your dad a big boxing fan?
He was, till our career didn't prosper the way he thought, and he looked at the business very differently.
I see.
Like the problem with a lot of people that get their kids involved, let me just say, into music, boxing, stuff that you gotta know the business, and there's a lot of things involved in those things. That it's not just music.
Yeah.
You gotta know the music, you gotta know the business, you gotta know how to negotiate. Yeah. All that. Boxing is very similar to that.
Okay, I see. And when you started boxing, like, did you have a fight, win or loss, that like stands out, specifically important to you?
Not really. They all have their own purpose in different ways. Like my first professional fight, I did lose my first professional fight, so it was a bummer. But like I said, I thought I won, but in many ways, you always gonna look like you won. So, in record is a loss. So plain and simple. And then I can't really say they were significant because they were never major fights. So I only had one fighter I did fight the guy twice. In my record name, I think it was Larry Oliveira, that I beat him. I was sick in that fight. I was getting a cold. In the last 2 rounds, I got a little sick. It was televised. I think on Fox Sports. I think at the time, it was a Goose and Tudor promotion, and he hit me with a shot that basically the TV got me smiling. I'm like, I was not hurt. I know people always say, "Oh, he's hurt." If he's smiling, he's hurt. I wasn't hurt. I didn't feel his shot. It was clean. Yeah. So And a good mentor of mine named Terry Washington, he told me, he didn't hurt you, Jorge, because that was a solid shot. I'm like, no, I didn't feel it. But I beat him, but I think it was a very competitive fight.
Yeah.
But the last 2 rounds, I slowed down a bit because I was already feeling.
How many rounds was that fight?
It was a 4-round fight.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I fought him again. Not my last fight, before my last fight.
Yeah.
I fought him in I think it was 6 rounds. I had staph infection in my left arm, so I couldn't really use my jab. And I beat him by points. You know, he was a tough guy. He was a tough guy.
That's great. What a story. And like, I know you mentioned your dad and your brother, and like, what role did your family and like community play like in your boxing journey?
My brother was more. I think my brother was. I'm not gonna say I was in competition with him, but he was always gifted. He was very gifted at a very young age.
Yeah.
At 13, he was already being competitive with grown men, professional fighters. So
Wow.
he was doing very well. I was getting the worst out of it. So, well, he was getting the better out of being competitive or outsizing the guys. I was always getting the worst out of the beatings in training. They just say every Saturday when I went to the Goosens or Tengus, I know I was gonna get a beating. I already embraced the beating. My dad was a little rough, tough, like the verbal. I'm gonna say verbal beatings he gave us was a little bit more intimidating than the actual beating.
I see.
So that was probably a thing that molded me. That the verbal part was more, and I think that comes with any Hispanic families, father and son. The verbals is more the verbal. You can call it verbal abuse.
Yeah.
Call it whatever you want, but that's basically what molded me the way I am right now. I'm a little hard with kids, but I know why, because number one, they're not my kids, and number two, I'm held responsible for them in many ways, so I have to be a little tough. It's kind of like in the military.
Yeah.
Drill sergeant. If the drill sergeant, if his whole group of soldiers get killed at war, he's held responsible.
Yeah.
Because he was not tough. He didn't put him in situations that was very demanding. So boxing is demanding. Not as much as the military, but it is demanding. It is a very selfish sport. It is a very jealous sport.
I see. How long did your like boxing career end up lasting? I know you say you turned pro really early. How many years did you end up boxing for? How many fights did you have?
I had 12 pro fights in a span of 6 years, quote unquote, active, because I wasn't really being active. There was times that I was trying, I wouldn't fight nobody for a year and a half. So,
is there a reason for that?
I was always in the gym, and I was at a gym at the wild card gym. So there was a lot of guys that I used to spar. They offered me to fight them.
Yeah.
When I was out of the gym or injured, or for some reason they thought I wasn't in shape, so I wanted to catch me out of shape. So that's the reason why when I was at the wild card, you were exposed to a lot of people. So you sparred everybody. The best sparring, yes, but at the same time you were more exposed. Everybody was looking. Everybody was there.
Okay.
Until I used to spar renowned former world champion Rosendo Alvarez, who had the infamous fight with Ricardo Finito Lopez. I used to spar Rosendo.
Okay.
And at the time he had about 40 fights. He only had 1 or 2 losses. He had 2 losses, maybe 3 that I remember. But I think he just lost to Jorge Arce, who was a former world champion as well. At the time was world champion. At the smaller weight divisions, and I became a sparring partner for him. I was helping him for a few fights, and then for some reason he offered me to fight him. And then I said, I don't shoot. I was doing everything as possible. I was running the hills. I was going to the Hollywood Hills to go run. I was swimming. This was a fight that could have changed my whole life.
Absolutely.
If I would have beat a guy like him. I was kind of like I was only a fighter from local shows, so I never made it to that pinnacle. So fighting a guy like Rosendo Alvarez, even though he was older, even though he was already like quote unquote over the hill, but that was still an opportunity. that it would change my life, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. So, for reasons to say, it could have been the commission, didn't accept it. Maybe I heard because I was always in the gym, I was getting the better of a lot of sparring partners or beating them up. Maybe that could have been rumors spreading out. So, a lot of things, especially when you train at gyms like the Wild Card, who a lot of people come in.
And when you say like the business of boxing, what do you mean by that?
The business is very different. It's very you gotta have a good set of people, because sometimes you could have managers basically doing side deals with promoters or doing side deals with the other team and etc. That basically it could be against you. So I didn't have a big amateur background, so most of I was probably looking at my record. You could make it look like, oh, I was a stepping stone. I was just an opponent. So the reason I stopped fighting is because I stopped trusting the people that I was trying to get help, basically to move me correctly.
Would you say boxing is a big like who you know sport?
Can be, but also you also gotta have the potential to basically you gotta be also marketable. See, we're talking post social media. Okay. You know, we were not in the social media era. That basically you were exposed. The smaller weight divisions, I fought 115, 100. You know, I fought 113, 15, 18, and 120. So the small weight division was not really something that people cared. Even to this day, you know, a few fighters are known in the smaller weight division, but they're not exposed like the lightweights, the welterweights, the middleweights, the heavyweights. Even the light heavyweights, the cruiserweights are getting some traction. It depends who is the star in that weight division. In this case, it's Canelo. He's around those weight divisions.
Why do you think that is?
I have no clue. It's something I would like to know why. Because that's something because when you're at super middleweight, light heavyweight, cruiserweight, you're a big dude. You're a big guy. So you should get some traction. But the cruiserweights, I think somebody told me, I forgot who told me. That would be somebody really known in boxing, but I can't recall. Somebody said the cruiserweight don't get exposure is because they cruise through the heavyweights. Because I know a lot of fighters that were fighting at cruiserweight, they fought in Europe. They were making money in Europe. They were not making money out here. It wasn't really exposed out here. Now it's maybe a little different.
We see a lot of like cruisers like go to heavyweight. They almost use cruiserweight like as a
and sometimes they're considered small heavyweight. They don't make it. That's the other issue, because now the heavyweights are very big, but at the same time, I know they're trying to change the whole Bridgerweight. And the heavyweight. It's a good and bad. I look at more as bad because you take away from the fighters that became. I call it the David and Goliath situation battle. Like guys like Michael Spinks, Evander Holyfield, and many others that were actually at those weight divisions and go up to heavyweight and compete, and some of them even won. And especially like guys like Michael Spinks and Evander Holyfield that basically became 4-time world heavyweight champion. You know, you take that away from them. So I think they should keep it cruiserweight, heavyweight.
I'd say.
And leave it as that.
And you said like marketability is very important in boxing. How did you market yourself as a pro boxer? Like what was your
at my time was MySpace. MySpace was the only thing. Like I fought at the Woodland Hills Marriott and I was working in Woodland Hills, Calabasas, like the Agora area. If people know the area here in the valleys, Agora is a little bit more like 20 minutes away from Van Nuys. So it was the next city next to Calabasas. So I brought that type of. I really didn't have that support because we were basically. First of all, we're not Mexican, so the Mexican community was. I don't think most of the gyms we went to were mostly Mexican. Nothing against the Mexican population. I think they're very supportive. Now I understand why they support the fighters. They love their athletes. I think we would have had a hard time, even though we speak Spanish and we're mostly been around Mexicans, but I don't think they would. I'm not gonna say they wouldn't embrace us. I think at a time, because they embraced Pacquiao, so at a time they would have probably embraced us, but we never made it to that level. So it'll be hard to say what would have happened if we would have made it.
Do you think like you're saying, like being Colombian, Guatemalan, like that, even though you're Latino or Hispanic, like you weren't marketed like them? Was it because you think maybe even your style? Because I know like even like Gennady Golovkin, who was from Kazakhstan, is highly embraced by the Mexicans because he fights the Mexican way.
Yeah, I kind of doubt that because look at Golovkin's fight when he fought Banis Matrosyan.
Yeah.
That was basically a tune-up because he was supposed to fight Canelo. Because Canelo got caught with the clenbuterol. I don't know the details. I don't really care. It's just that's something that I don't know much about the whole situation. So, anyways, going to Golovkin, the fights were already set in Vegas.
Yeah.
Why they didn't have him in Vegas? Why they had him at the StubHub? And I think Golovkin only made $1 million or maybe $2 million. You know, so that's what I think. I knew Vanes. I know his dad from when I used to train at the Wild Card when he came out the Olympics.
Yeah.
So Vanes was a good fighter. It's just for some reason he just fell out in time. But why did they make the fight at StubHub? Why didn't make it in Vegas? Because nothing against the Armenians, but Golovkin doesn't bring that pull. Even though you said, he has a Mexican style.
Yeah.
He didn't help out.
Fair enough. Yeah.
You know, I just think that's just a pawn to basically bring the eyes to him. But they're not gonna. They didn't embrace him.
Yeah.
It's like Oscar. Oscar was considered a great fighter. He always chanted Mexico. He beat Chavez. They love him. They hated him. Now it's different because the promoter, so they embrace him because he's helping Mexico. So I know I was sparring a fighter that was a former world champion. I'm not going to mention names. That I had people that were interested in me to some point, but I think because I was a Mexican, they signed me into a management contract. So that was it because I was sparring a few other fighters and they were actually paying me to spar them. So, you know, and I heard also that they wouldn't sign non-Mexican fighters. So it's around. It's around.
Did you try to like make up like for like I guess like your lack of marketability due to the fact you weren't Mexican? I know you took the name like Kid Flash. Like
the Kid Flash name came because I used to have a Superman logo in my car, and you know I'm a big comic book.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm a big comic book. I like comic book. I grew up like Superman, Batman. That had a little red tercel and I had the Superman logo, and then I met my trainer, mentor, I consider him Terry Washington, told me, George, why you have a Superman? You're not gonna call yourself Superman in your name. I'm like, no, come on, man. I already have losses. Yeah. Superman, you're supposed to be like undefeated to a certain extent. Yeah. Or a big knockout puncher or something. So we started playing with names, and then he said, I like this fighter. I like this. I used to like the one that goes fast, he said. I'm like, the Flash? Yeah. I used to have a friend. Used to call himself Kid Flash back when we used to box in our backyard. Yeah. He called himself Kid Flash. So I kind of ran with his name. And somewhat, you could say I took his name. But he never did nothing with it. He never fought. Yeah. You know, even though that he did box, his father was a fighter, professional fighter, but he fought amateur, but he never, I think he only had like a couple fights. Yeah.
I saw that, I've seen a picture of one of your fights where you're wearing like a lot of camo.
Yeah, that was one of the fights at the Woodland Hills Marriott.
Yeah. What's the story behind that? Just a style choice?
It was a style choice. I'm a big DMX fan. So, you know, DMX, that was the camouflage. Yeah. You know, that was like the thing I used to wear. I used to be known wearing camouflage stuff. So that was the reason. So I kind of went with the camouflage look, like you're ready for wars. And, you know, even though stylistically my style was not, I was more of a boxer, elusive boxer. You know, you could say I was a puncher. You know, my record don't say it, but a lot of people say I had good punching power for the weight. So it was ready for war. Because there was a couple fights that I did, a couple guys I did drop that felt my power, but unfortunately, I didn't come out with the decision.
Okay, I see.
Mhm.
And lastly, how did you use MySpace? Like, I know you said you used it. What did you do on it?
I just posted pictures
Yeah.
and the address where we're fighting, and because I think at that time when you posted it, people were able to see there was a little part of the website they were able to see when people were posting things.
Oh, okay.
So you were able to posting the people that followed you, and MySpace was a zoo because you had friends that you probably never spoke to.
Okay.
So it was a little different than Facebook. I'm kind of the same. I have Facebook, don't really use it as much, but I probably know more people on Facebook than I don't. But there also are people that I don't even know. I've never spoken to.
Yeah.
I probably spoken to them because they followed. They saw interviews on me on YouTube when I used to get interviewed. And they became, I'm not gonna say fans, but they kind of like what I said about certain fights, so they kind of requested me on Facebook before Instagram. Because I'm always behind on social media stuff.
And I know, like, you eventually retired in 2007.
Yes,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Yeah.
Because that was my last fight. Even though that was not officially the decision at the time, but that was around my last fight.
And what did you decide to do after, like, you stopped fighting?
I was always working as a trainer. I started
Okay.
working with a trainer in 2000 when I was 16.
Oh, very young.
So I started young. I was training kids just to make a buck. My trainer was basically Jesse Revelo was the one that was training. He ran the gym over at the Goosens. He was training people. He started with us, and then he would probably train a couple people, and he'll charge them a couple bucks. It wasn't a lot. I was charging $10 a week, $5 a week, depending on the age. If you were an adult, $10. If you were a kid, $5. I was making about maybe 100, $150 a week. It wasn't much.
Yeah.
So, but I'm talking late 90s. So, because the reason I took over is because my former trainer, he was going to training camp, so they gave me a key, so I was able to train people and make a couple bucks here and there just to keep the gym running at night.
And is that experience that you had how you transitioned from being a fighter to becoming a full-time coach?
That was even though when I was fighting, I was working as a trainer. So I opened up a gym. I was at Tengus, I left, and I ended up at another gym in Woodland Hills that I was working out of. I was there for like about a couple of years. Then I opened up another gym in Agora. That's the reason why I had a little following in Agora Hills. In Calabasas, because I was training a lot of kids from that neck of the woods. So, so basically and that's when the reason they were promoting me. Terry got involved in making a fight with the former owner of the gym, and we started promoting me fighting on the card. So I was basically bringing revenue. Like I didn't have to. At that time, I didn't know the business, so Terry basically did all the walking to sell tickets instead of having us do it.
Yeah.
Till later on in life, we found out that we had to sell tickets. So I didn't know that business because Terry Washington did all that.
Yeah.
So me not knowing, we thought, okay, we fought, and that was it. Now there's more to it. The A side, the B side, etc., etc. That's the reason there's a difference from then of being a fighter and now being a coach. That the business side is you got to sell tickets. You got to get your opponent. You got to get the fighter on the right track, getting the right fights. Because you can sell tickets and just get them fights.
Yeah.
Yes, you get all the rights and the things you demand, but at the same time, if you don't get the right opponent, and your guy is not well prepared, you can get severely your fighter beaten, hurt, or knocked out. So that's the other side that you gotta. And also, as a trainer, as a former fighter, now I know psychologically what fighters go through because I kind of put myself in their behalf, in their minds to a degree, as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say we think alike or we are alike, but I kind of put myself, okay, he's not doing certain things, maybe certain reasons, certain feeling, or he's injured, etc., etc. So his experience has basically helped me kind of develop fighters. And I've also had other coaches like Juan Quintero, who's been a big part of the gym. Me and Juan have been together now for about 16, 17 years now,
Wow.
working together. So he's been a big part of the Flash Enterprises. So he's been my biggest right-hand man with training kids and like in many ways. Because I started first with his kids who had experience, came with me, and then when we landed here at this at my gym, when I opened up with former business partners, he was my right-hand man with the amateurs. Then now he's basically my right-hand man. Like anything I do with boxing, he's gonna have a big part of it, a big say, or he's gonna be an associate / business partner with the fighters because he's a big part of it.
That's incredible. What pushed you to open? Like, I know you said like that you were training at Tengu's and you were training kids. What pushed you to come to this location? And why here?
I dreaded the location. First of all, I dreaded the location because who the hell's gonna drive by here and see it?
Yeah.
So when I was at Tengu's, I was working. When I landed at Joe's gym, Tengu's, when I was working with sparring with Molina for about a year, John Molina, not the old John Molina from Puerto Rico. I'm saying from Covina, the Gladiator. I was sparring with him for about a year. Then I ventured as an assistant coach. I worked with guys like Edison Miranda, Soto Carras, Oscar Mesa, some Russian fighters from Russia and Armenia. And then I worked with the first fighter I basically kind of took charge was a big heavyweight, about 6'9", 7 foot, 7'2", I don't know, 300 pounds. So his name was Ernest Mazik, call him Zeus. So I trained him for one of the fights that he won, but wasn't really he just looked the part. Yeah. So I'm gonna leave it as that. Yeah. But working with Joe was pleasant. I like working with Joe. Joe was always great. You know. Then we had to fight with Edison Miranda, with Lucian Butte. Unfortunately, he lost. And then I had another. I was working with John Molina as a assistant coach. Then he fought Antonio DeMarco. He got stopped. And he lost by stoppage. And then and that was probably the last time I worked with two fighters that basically. That I could say I was under Joe and had world title fights. Yeah. So I have two world title fights under my belt as an assistant trainer. So yeah.
How would you compare being in the ring and then being in the corner?
In the corner, you can see the things outside, something you don't see when you're the fighter. You see things inside. You might think you're winning. Yeah. Because, for example, I was very somewhat defensive to a degree. Sometimes I used to use my defense and not execute my offense behind it. Mm-hmm. So I understand that now as a trainer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to make a lot of guys miss, and I thought, okay, I'm making a miss. Nothing's going on. So I'm thinking I'm winning. Kind of like the Willie Pep. He told his trainer, I'm not going to throw a single punch in this round, and I'm going to win the round. And he did, but unfortunately in my case, I don't think I did because I was so defensive that I made the guys miss, but he was making the fight. I was not. So that's the other thing that you start learning in time. Mm-hmm. You start learning who's in control and who's not in control, who's the matador and who's the bull. Mm-hmm. So you got to know that whole system that you could be aggressive, but if you're not being... you'll be aggressive, but if you're not being, what's that word I'm trying to say?
Efficient. Efficient.
Efficient. Yeah. You're not being, you're not basically in control of the fight. You're losing because you could be defensive, but at the same time you could be in control because you're using your defense to create. You're using your defense to create your offense. Okay. So you could be in control. An example. A lot of people thought Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, beat Mayweather. No. Floyd used his defense to beat De La Hoya. It was a very competitive fight. Don't get me wrong. In judge's point of view, it could have gone either or per se. I still think Floyd took it, but it just depends on what you favor as a fan, as a trainer, as a fighter. It just depends on your perspective. Everybody has a different perspective of seeing things.
Do you think that's a good way of judge, like the judging system we have right now? Do you think that's a good idea? I know like they're introducing like the AI judge, who pretty much just like counts the punches. Do you think
that's an amateur thing? Like as an amateur, as the amateur has basically changed up the rules. Like you were able to land 3 punches in a fight in the first round, and they say in the first round you build up a 40-point lead because you win 1, 2, 3. That's 1 point. 1, 2, 3, another point. Every 3 punches you land is a point, and you just build up a lead of. You just scored 30 points, but your opponent scored 10 points. You could run the next 2 rounds and win the fight. That was the amateur system at one time. I don't. It's changed now because they want to see more eyeballs. Like now they've removed the headgears for the national teams. In California, I don't think they're still required headgears. But in other states, the removal of the headgear. It's a good and bad because now it's more competitive. You could land a good shot and knock the guy out. The bad thing is if you get headbutted, you win the fight. You get headbutted, you got a gash. Now you can't compete on the next round because you have the gash. So you're basically, you got bailed out. Not because you wanted to bail out, is because now you got a big gash because of a headbutt or something. So I think the headgear is necessary. And the amateurs keep it separate as a sport. You could say it is they're trying to make it 2 different sports, but more like fencing. But now they're trying to add more of the professionals, especially here in the U.S. You know, we like to see fights. We like to see knockouts. That's the reason why I'm always in debates with people about the Soviet style. The Soviet style. It's a good technical way, but remember, the Soviets developed that style off guys like Ali, Leonard, all these fighters that were actually bouncing, using their footwork, and it's not really. I hate to say it like that, but I'm gonna call it the bootleg version of that style because it's still technical boxing. They just added a little twist and added a little bit more of their flair, whatever thing. Because if you look at a lot of Russian, Eastern European, they don't move their head. They don't move there's rhythm, but it's not the type of rhythm that we like to see here in the U.S. And I know people might say, "Oh, they can fight inside." It's very, very selective fighter. Like I'm gonna use Dmitry Pirlov. He beat Danny Jacobs. Danny Jacobs was supposed to be the star, and Pirog knocked him out. Pirog is one of the fighters I did like because he had a little roll, flash dash of defense that I did like. So he's one of the few fighters that I do like from Russia, but he retired quickly because of injuries, back problems. I don't know the details, but he was one of the fighters I did like.
Transitioning back to being like a coach, how do you install like your values to your students, pretty much? Like what lessons do you try to pass on to your fighters? I know right now you have a lot of amateur fighters. What lessons do you try to pass on to those guys?
Being role models. That's and not being the negative, not being I think boxing is a gentleman's sport. That's why I admire Canelo a lot. People that hate Canelo because he doesn't bow down to the masses. Everybody is caught up with the culture per se. Canelo is his own man. Like I'm hearing a lot of interviews of people being against Canelo, guys that are irrelevant in this sport that I haven't seen, that were former contenders, world champion, that are talking nonsense. So, and going against Canelo, but the thing is, Canelo could be the last of the Mohicans. When I say that, is because now boxing is trying to transition and being monopolized.
What's a Mohican?
It's a movie. Basically, it's a tribe that is basically the last it was the last Indian of that tribe.
Oh, okay.
So it's a movie.
Yeah.
So the last of the Mohicans.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. That's
okay.
the saying. He's the last of his tribe, last of his kind.
I see.
So that's what I look at Canelo. I think he's the last of a guy that could be basically a billionaire and control his own career. Floyd was prior, and then etc., etc.
Yeah.
But I think he could be, because now they're trying to monopolize boxing, basically to control the fighter's career and make, like, not going to mention companies, but they're trying to make it. They're trying to monopolize it, so they have control of everything around them. Now you can't have, like, if you have a certain sponsor, let's say you have Lacoste sponsoring you, you can't wear it because it's not part of the company. So
kind of like what the UFC did.
Yeah, and that kind of like limits you, because being a fighter, you sacrificing your whole life. Boxing for me is a very jealous sport, and in a way that you give it all. Like I gave it all. Like in my perspective, maybe in other people outside this know me and saw me around may think, no, you didn't give it all, George. I don't know. Everybody's perspective is different, but I lived in my shoes. So maybe mental blocks, something that limit you, is what affected me. But going back with the sponsoring, like, you're limiting yourself, you're limiting people how to make money, and that becomes an issue, because the thing is, you could die in that ring right there and then be the it. Like, you've seen a lot of fighters that, especially, we just had a tragic situation in Japan that 2 fighters passed away from Japan. So those are things that affect the fight. It's always going to be boxing, any type of combat sports, mixed martial arts, whatever company. We always like violence. 2 things that we love: sex and violence. The biggest 2 things that sell. We're always going to enjoy it. But now the world, especially in the U.S., is a bubble that everything's is like counterculture, like canceling culture. I mean, and they're always trying to limit everything. So in that, it will get to a political standpoint, and we probably had conversations before that we don't want to get into. but it's a lot of things that you gotta look at the fighter, that he is the company. In the beginning, yes, he's being controlled. He's being somewhat manipulated to basically move him a certain way to basically make money out of him. But if you feel that your fighter go rogue, then you could shelf him. But there's reason there's contracts, like management and promoter. Like if I'm not active, I'm gonna shelf you. Or if you're not this, I'm gonna shelf you. But also, if they can't shelf you because my contract says I gotta have a minimum certain amount of fights a year, okay, I'll get you a fight. You're gonna fight this guy, even though I'm like, wait, that's a dangerous fight. That's a fighter that could basically beat you.
Yeah. And
then you're moving a certain way. So everybody has that. So like right now, everybody wants to fight Canelo. Win or lose, they're making money.
Yeah.
They're making what? They're making what is it? 6, 7, 8 figures to fight Canelo. That's changing the lifestyle. That's the reason why they're going against them. They want to basically bring them down, because when you're on, everybody wants to see you rise to a certain level, but the minute they feel that you're on top, they go against you. It happened to Floyd. It happened to De La Hoya. It happened to Manny. I don't think it happened because he was just a likable guy. For some reason, Manu never had that, but he did have his ups and downs. So Floyd was probably the more they hated, because they just wanted to see him beat, but he was such a genius in that ring, that also outside the ring, that basically people just hated him, and he officially became the bad guy.
Yeah. I know you're talking about like how boxers pretty much move around the boxing economy. Is there a specific story about a fighter that you coached that like really captured what boxing means to you?
Repeat the question again.
So is there a specific story of a fighter that you've coached that really captures what boxing means to you?
It's hard because everybody has a different way of living. I've seen a lot of kids with potential. I've seen a lot of kids with not as talented, hardworking, or limited in abilities, or limited in funds. They can't come into the gym. Parents are not really supportive. Parents are too controlling. Parents that are not do not support me being strict with them, or so it's a lot of things that you start working with people more than fighters to a certain extent. That's the reason you have to have the right team of, if you say trainers, you have to have a team of trainers. Yeah, somebody's always going to take the lead. I get that. Even another person that I'm not going to mention that basically is mentoring me right now and kind of like advising me, tells me somebody's got to take the lead. Yes, because you don't want to confuse the fighter, pro amateur. So, but when you're dealing with a lot of people, so it becomes a lot mental towards you, because sometimes you gotta remember this: your work comes out of somebody else. That's the thing. It's not like I'm building something. I need to have my fighter perform the way I'm envisioning him. Because if he doesn't, then who looks bad? It's not him. Especially if I'm teaching him, I started him, it comes out of me. So we're always going to take the flag. There's a lot of trainers that been doing it for as long as even when I was a kid, that actually now our grandparents are still teaching kids. That basically they're still doing. Those are the guys that are actually doing the hardest work as trainers, because they're putting their lives in another kid's that's not theirs. They're putting their lives in the kid's future, because they're hoping that they prosper with that one kid, and they could take. In my case, I know a lot of these trainers for almost close to 30 years, and I was a kid, so it's a lot of work, a lot of time. I call it the Peter Pan effect, and what I'm calling it now, because I'm growing old. I got the gray hairs in my face, and I'm like, but I'm still thinking back on my mind. Oh, Carlos, I can still get in the ring with you. Bye. And then I'm like, it's totally different now, and my body is not recuperating quick. But I'm seeing kids grow up. Like I'm seeing kids having kids, and sometimes those kids are having other kids, so they're almost becoming grandparents. So, yeah, I've been doing this for 33 years, and I'm talking overall boxing. As a fighter, as a trainer, as a manager, as a matchmaker, whatever they want to call it, you could say promoter. I've been doing it at a certain level, but I'm not saying I'm big time, but it's a lot of work.
I know you've done boxing as a fighter, boxing as a trainer, and then you mentioned boxing as a manager. Can you go a little more into that?
Managing, I had 3 fighters in Colombia, and now we ended up to 1. Finances became an issue because COVID ruined a lot of things. I used to have, my good friend got me, we had business partners in England that were basically involved. COVID really messed up a lot of situations, so they fell out. So even I went through some situations financially with the gym, with the partnership with the gym, that I had a falling out with a business partner in a bad way. Even other situations happened that I had trainers that were involved with the gym that we had fought. We parted ways, not too good, and basically affected the business. So there's other elements to it that basically, when people want to see, when you being of service, everybody applauds you. When you give your life to somebody else and basically forget about your life, you put your life on the side. I lost a relationship, marriage, quote unquote, for opening this gym. I haven't really had personal relationship because of, I'm always focused on the gym. I've almost lost everything. My identity has been only boxing. So now being a manager is something that you got to take another fight to another level, but also you're investing money, you're putting money out, you're sending out money, you're paying stipends. Colombia, it's not a lot, but it still takes an effect. Even if I'm sending $400, $300 and plus, and that's not including the fights. That in Colombia, they find out you're American. Oh, you're being managed by an American manager. Oh, they want more money out of you. So it's always something that intertwined, because people think you're American, you're making a lot of money. Like in TJ, I was doing fights in TJ. I was, you know, I was taking fighters to fight, and then some fighters thought I was in cahoots with the Mexican promoter, even though they were paying us. And when I say us, I had another associate that basically I was doing fights with, that he was bringing me fighters. That he was also doing some other stuff that I'm not gonna mention, but yes, it affected me. I became target number one when the fighters didn't win. So because if there were of another ethnicity under the race, they thought I was in cahoots with the Mexican manager from PJ, and I wasn't. I'm just, yeah, he's helping me. We're doing business together. Of course, he's doing business with these fighters that were the opponents for my fighters now. Whatever their managers and trainers didn't do in their behalf, that's out of my control, because I'm not training these guys. I'm not managing, and I was getting pennies, you know, to basically for the buck, because I was trying to basically I enjoyed doing it, but at the same time it becomes a good and bad situation. You're doing good for them, but at the same time, if something it doesn't go as their plan, then you get the flag. So that was the thing that started happening. Then I had a falling out with not the Mexican promoter. Yeah. The other person was bringing me people, and then he did some crooked business with a kid that basically the kid ended up living in his car. That I looked at it like, come on, man, you can't be doing that. Yeah. With a certain organization that is major. I'm not going to mention them, but they're big in boxing. Yeah. One of the organizations that has multiple world champions. I'm just going to say it as that.
And how do you, like, I know you say you go to Tijuana and you have fighters fighting in Colombia. How does that work? Like, what do you mean you take them to Tijuana?
Because you know, the situation here, you got to sell tickets. Yeah. Nobody wants to be on the B side. Everybody wants to be on the A side. I really don't get involved with too many B side guys, because I don't want to be known as an opponent trainer or matchmaker or etc. Because you get categorized. You get blacklisted. They just say, I look at a lot of things. Sometimes I feel I'm blacklisted. I feel that way. But at least I have a job. Yeah. But so it kind of works like Hollywood. You know, if you don't do certain things they demand it, they'll put you to the side. Okay. So let's put it in those terms. Yeah. Oh, you don't do it like, or if they lose, but you're trying to move them correctly, but they lose to survive. They start. Oh, you were with Jorge. Oh, no wonder you were involved with him. That's the reason you lost. And they're gonna start using his record, his experience. You gotta get experience. It's like, what's the point of you trying to be a major as a doctor and a lawyer, but they don't. Then you go to school, you pay for schooling, and then all of a sudden, you can't. They don't want to give you the work because of lack of experience. So how are you gonna get experience if nobody opens the door? Yeah. That's how it works. That's how I see it. Maybe I'm looking at it differently, but that's how I see it.
And what about like when you were magic fighters in Colombia? Were you flying to Colombia for these fighters?
I flew for 2 fights, but at the same time I was dealing with I was basically negotiating, talking to the trainer, and that's what he was sending them the money and basically getting the fights. But
and who was the person demanding more money from you? Was it the promoters? Was it the managers? Was it?
I can't really give you that side. I can't give you. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if the other way around, but either or. So I don't know. Okay. But like I said, if the opponent knows that you're American, they want more money. If the promoter knows you're American, they want more money.
Oh, okay. So as a when you're fighting in other countries, Latin American countries, you have to pay as an American fighter to fight, pretty much. Instead of getting paid yourself, you're paying.
You're paying. Your fighter's not making money. Yeah. You know, you could give your fighter money, but that's why I gave my fighters typing. So basically, so they could just focus on training. Yeah. But in my situation, it's been hard because now I'm the only one basically providing. You know, I'm not saying my associate, my best friend will be involved, but she's in her own predicament on finances. So she's out of the picture. She's still a part of it, but she's out of it because when I was doing bad, she took the mantle. Yeah. Now I'm taking the mantle because I'm basically making a living, but it's not to the point that I would like to.
And boxing, I know we say boxing is obviously a sport, but it's also labor, right? It's a job.
It's a business. It's more of a business.
Okay.
It's more of a business. It's become more of a business.
So how do you see the business side of boxing, like the opportunities and like the struggles of it? Like, what's the good side? What's the bad side?
The good side is if you could take a kid and mold him and teach him and get him going and make him into a good little fighter, and then it's always development, and then proceed ongoing as long as the kid is focused. But if you get a kid that's partier, not as focused, got the talent, this kid got talent, weak-minded, got women problem, got drug problem, got friend problem, goes out, not committed, not consistent, doesn't commit to times, you're putting your reputation. He looks bad in a fight, they'll shelf him or they'll tear his contract. So all those things take effect. It's a lot of things that people don't realize. Like, this conversation could go for a few hours.
Yeah.
If I gave you the details that I know.
Yeah.
Maybe, like I said, don't take it that I'm an expert.
Yeah.
I just know what I know.
Of course. So
in conversations I've had with people, and it's something that it takes a long time. It takes a long time. Everybody wants to get good from now and then. Like, in your perspective, you've been boxing, and you saw the difference in what you should have been doing that you were doing before, and now what I'm having you do. So it's and this is just at these stages. Imagine if you went forward with it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And what do you think is like the hardest part about being a fighter outside of the ring?
Staying focused, not falling. You have to be so uncomfortable in your life that comfort should not be in your vocabulary. That's something I wish I would have known when I was fighting. Comfort. The more comfortable you are, the more. That's the reason when fighters start making a lot of money, they kind of fall off. Or fighters make a lot of money and they retire. I call it the Maidana effect. They made that money with Mayweather, and boom, got big. I don't need to fight no more. He's living in Argentina. The money's taking him a long way.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. I'm being uncomfortable. That's why Floyd Mayweather kept it. He stayed uncomfortable. Maybe also Canelo does it because he loves it. So everybody's different. So that's how I see it.
Yeah.
You gotta be uncomfortable. You know, comfortability is a killer, in my view, in this sport.
How, I know, like you said, like when the money starts coming in, how was it for you when you were a pro boxer? Did you make a lot?
No, I didn't make money.
Okay.
No, if I relied on making money in boxing, I would have been better off picking up cans in the street.
Really?
Yeah. Because remember this, I wasn't fighting consistent.
Yeah. And why? I know you said like some boxers make millions, and like you're saying right now, you made nothing.
Yeah, I made a few thousand.
A few thousand.
You know, nothing that would have affected would have made a dent in my bank account.
Yeah. Do you think it's what do you think of that system?
It's hard because boxing is still the Wild West. It's still, it's something that is if you have organizations like kind of like sanctioning bodies, if controlling it, it will be a good thing. Like in my opinion, a fighter should be making at least $5,000 a fight in the United States
for a 4-round fight.
4-round fight.
Yeah.
At least. 3-4 is kind of pushing it.
Yeah.
You understand? You got to pay. If you have managers, 33%. Depends on what state.
Yeah.
But I'm going with what I know in California, 33% plus 10%. But you got to remember this: the 10% is never guaranteed to the trainer. So if I'm the manager and you're a trainer and I hire you, but I'm just going to pay you a monthly salary, I'm going to give you $500, $1,000, depending what type of level trainer you are.
Yeah.
To train my fighter, well, you're going to say okay, but I'm not going to pay you you're not going to make money in the fights. Or I tell my fighter, okay, you take care of the training.
Okay.
So either or. I'm trying to change a little different. I'm trying to do everything in-house.
Yeah.
People might say it might be monopolized, but I have trainers. We have expenses because at the same time, I'm trying to bring other people involved that basically might help us get to that level quicker, per se. Yes, we got to fight. Yes, we got to showcase our fighters' abilities, but at the same time, everybody's destination is very different.
I know you said like keeping everything in-house. What do you think has been your biggest challenge as an owner of a gym?
Trusting people.
Trusting people.
Trusting people and thinking they're looking out for me, and then they're not. You know, I try to help people. I try, you know, people might say otherwise. Realistically, I just don't care. Realistically, I could be the bad guy. I really don't care. My old self didn't want to be the bad guy. I was like, oh, I didn't want to be enemies with anybody. But if I get mad at, if I feel that you did me some type of way, I'm not gonna, like, for example, like they just say, you paid me my gym dues and you're $20 short, and leave it at that. And then you say, I'll pay you. You don't pay me. But I don't remember that. I'm not gonna treat you or disrespect you, but I'm gonna know that about you. And in another case, you do the same thing. I'm like, no, man, you gotta pay. Oh, why?
Yeah.
And then I'll bring it up like, you didn't pay me so and so day. Come on, man. You told me you're gonna do that. You never took care of it. Take care of it. And that's on a little scale.
Yeah.
Imagine a big scale. So everybody's always gonna look at you however they're gonna personify how they want to see you. That's number one. Number two, they're gonna talk back at you. They're gonna be talking behind your back, mention things about you, even though you didn't mean it to do it in those terms, or they just trying to put you in a bad way because they see you in a bad light. So they just say you didn't know me to this perspective as we know each other, and then you don't associate with me every day like you do. You're gonna start believing, and then you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 multiple people in town talking about me, but realistically you never dealt with me. So you might believe what they're telling you instead of dealing with me. You know what I mean? So it's a very hard perspective.
Do you think that's a very like boxing? That's
just business in general. It is business in general. You either become you live enough to be the good guy to become a bad guy. You know, you're trying to do something positive to be a good person, but at the same time, but if I feel like if we're doing, let's say I'm trying to manage you, I want 30. I'm gonna say I'm gonna take 33%, but you gotta take, but also you gotta pay 10% training. You're gonna be like, oh, yo, George, but how the hell? I got probably, but I got all these people I got to pay behind me, and you don't have a contract with them. I do.
Okay.
So yes, in the long run, when you make it to that big time stage, then we'll negotiate.
Yeah.
But at these terms, I'm in control because I'm directing you. Without me, there won't be no direction. And people use that in a good way or in a bad way.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to, because at the end of it all, like for example, if you make $20 million, they say you become like a Mayweather, Canelo status. You don't have to pay me 10% of your $20 million.
Yeah.
You don't. You say I'm gonna give you $500,000. That's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if I put effort and time throughout the years with you, then I'll be like, wow, you just like that? And they say, this is my biggest payday.
Yeah.
I'm like that. I might look at it like that. Like I put all my life and time and effort. I know you since you were 10, they just say. Now you're like close to 30. I put almost 20 years in you. And like that. So it's a lot of perspectives. Everybody's differently. Everybody looks at it different. Some trainers just don't give. Okay, give me the money, whatever. And they start caring. They start caring about the individual.
Yeah.
Because it becomes only business. So you got to learn how to separate. And trust me, I'm guilty as well.
Yeah.
There's times that I've taken things personal in business. I kind of mushed them together. We're all guilty about it. So, but sometimes you got to be the bigger person.
And can you tell me like how that journey has been of like being a business owner, going through those hardships? You've been a gym owner for how long now?
Going on 13 years now. On my own for
Yeah.
past 3 years. So it's been rough. It's been tough. It's been good. I can't say it's bad because I've seen the progression. When you live at the moment, you're like, damn man, I wish I could have got that extra $5 or whatever. But you gotta look at how I was 2-3 years ago. And like 2 years ago, I didn't have no ring. I didn't have this. I didn't have that. Like I felt like I was like, and that's another story on its own about the former business partner taking everything from here, even though I put 9 years of my life into it, but there was no proof because I was never in the record books, like in the business, in the bank account. I was never involved. So how do you know? How would they know in court that I owned it? So it is what it is. But you live and you learn.
And I know you said boxing's in your life for the past 33 years. How has it molded you as a person, the highs and the sacrifices of it?
Never think you're bigger or better than anybody. If you think you're high in the sky, remember this: you could fall down to the ground as soon as possible and hit that ground with like a comet that will be obliterated. Like you won't be able to see it. Like what hit here? You see the crater, but you don't see nothing. So you will not mean anything. So stay grounded. I hate to say stay humble.
Yeah.
It's so overused.
Yeah.
I say stay grounded. Know where you came from. Just because you have more than somebody else doesn't mean you're better. Doesn't mean that you're better than them. You just put more work. That doesn't mean you're better than them. Because that person could probably, by the time he reaches your age, he could surpass you in 100 times better than you.
Yeah.
So life is just a journey. You just gotta enjoy the journey. Because sometimes we want to be in the destination. We want to be in our destination right away. I want it, but then all of a sudden it's like, that's all I got. That's everything. So it's something that you just gotta live day by day.
And what are some of those big sacrifices you've taken for boxing being your entire life? I know you said you had a marriage, but
My
is
life.
it your life?
I've given up my life.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
I've given up my life. Like my life has been this. Like it hasn't really been. I haven't been. If I've lost relationships because of boxing, if I lost opportunities because of boxing, I've lost friendships. I've lost a lot of things in boxing. But you know something? But there are times that you got to do things on your own, because the thing is, people are never gonna see the vision you see, and the only one's gonna be able to see your vision is you, nobody else. And you got to do what's best for you. It's like, for example, your parent will tell you, do it like this, do this, but you're coming from a Latino perspective. They want you to get a job and be miserable. For them, this is not a job. It's just a dream. I made it into a job. I made it into a lifestyle. I made a living off of it. One thing, the trainer that used to work with Freddie, Justin Fortuny, Michael Foley, told me, George, I've never done anything. I've only worked in boxing. Boxing has given, as long as I had boxing, it gave me a living. And I've lived by that. Edison Miranda, former contender from Colombia, told me, George, don't look at what we're doing right now. I know you don't like it, you're mad, your situation's not great financially, but look at yourself in 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, maybe 15. See where you be in 15, 5, 10, 15 years. It's been about close to 15 years. So it's been 15 years. So I work with Edison Miranda. It's been 2010 was the last fight when he fought Lucian Pute. I think it was 2010, yeah. He told me that. And look where I'm at now. may not be at the pinnacle where I want to be, but I'm better than where I used to be.
Yeah.
So I look at that.
That's great. Always trying to look at the positive aspect of it.
Exactly. Because like I said, we want to be there.
Of course.
We want to have the money. I want to have the stack of money.
Yeah.
I want to be rich. I want to have this, but maybe it wasn't meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is like I wasn't world champion. I wasn't a great fighter, or what, et cetera, et cetera. I made a pact with myself. If I never make a world champion, I never have to work a professional fighter. I'm good with it. As long as I affect people in a positive way. As long as I made an effect in people's lives, I'm good with that.
That's awesome. And would you say, right into my next question, I was going to ask, what do you want your legacy as a coach to be? Or a fighter?
As a coach, be one of the best I want them to remember that I just wanted the best for them.
Okay.
You know, as an athlete, as a fighter, as a person. Like I say, be better than me. That's the biggest thing I always say. Be better than me. I want you to be better than me. I'm not in competition with you guys. You're not in competition with me. The whole goal is to have you reach a pinnacle that you're at the time you're my age, mm-hmm. you're better in a better situation than I ever will be. Mm-hmm. I want you to be better. That's the whole thing.
And
go ahead.
Oh, go for it.
No, if you have a house by 20 years old, you live in, you have the cars, you have everything. I want that. That's the whole thing. That is the whole goal, for you to be better, because now I can brag and say, yeah, I made that happen for you.
Would you say that it's almost like you said boxing is a very jealous, envious sport? Is that the main reason that you think that way now? It's like you just want.
Yes, that's and there's been a lot of, especially with today's social media, you see a lot of people speaking, and I'm not going to mention names, but you see a lot of people saying that, you know, you're gonna make friends become your enemy. Mm-hmm. You might make friends your enemies. I mean, you might make enemies your friends, mm-hmm. because of certain situation you're involved. But as long as you're doing what's right for you, as the person living in your own shoes, you got to do what's best for you. Because if you start worrying about what other people start telling you, and that's where I landed on, when you start worrying about other people telling you and what you need to do because of their perspective, then you're gonna basically going off the road somewhere that you don't know where you're gonna hit, and then you gotta get right back on the road, and you don't even know how long it may take you. Maybe that's what happened with me. Maybe I took certain decisions. I listened to certain people that I shouldn't listen to. And it could be family, friends, parents. It could be anybody that you take certain advice from. That because they want you to live in their shoes. Always do what's best for yourself. Live in your own shoes. Live in your own means. Stay in your own lane. Like my friend Kimo says, stay in your own lane, Jorge, because the thing is, you got to do what's best for you.
And lastly, is there a story, lesson that you want future fighters or someone outside of boxing that doesn't box who might watch this to understand about what it really means to live this life?
Get involved with people that want to see you grow. Not to see you grow, they want to party with you. They want to see you grow because you go out with them and do foolish thing and basically make a wreck of yourself. The people that make your life uncomfortable are the ones that you should grow with. Like, and many people have said, many famous people have said, I want to eat in the same table with somebody that I know I'm growing with. I don't want to be involved with too many people. Mm-hmm. And that's the path I've taken. I'm very selective now who I hang out with, who I get involved with. Mm-hmm. And I'm very, now in this generation of society, it's very hard to trust people because everybody's always trying to get ahead of yourself. Everybody wants to see you do well. Never better than them. Remember that. You always got to do what's best for you. That's plain and simple. Whatever choices you want to take, you got to do what's best for you.
I love that. Do you, for any future fighters that want to come into your gym, who have maybe safety concerns about head trauma, about injuries, or even the business side of things?
Life is a risk. Doesn't matter what you do in life. You could run out the street and get run over by a car. Get run over by a car. It does. It. I know the CTE and this that. That's why I said I started drinking alcohol until I was 28. From 20 to 34, 33, I probably had a handful of alcohol beverages. Yes, after 33, 34, I had a little bit more than I should have, but I still have rules under myself. I don't drink Monday to Friday, Monday to Thursday, Friday we do something, and I don't drink Sundays because I'm always got to be very focused on what I got to do here at the gym because this is very demanding. I'm a little older now. It's taking a toll into me now. I'm not the most biggest guy, so I got to take care of myself as much as possible because it is, as a coach, with today's social media, everybody wants you to do mids, certain way, but like I always tell people this, the custom models, the great trainer, the Emmanuel Stewarts, the Nacho Bernstein, and there's many more that I can't think on the top of my head that are a lot older trainers. They're not doing what these trainers nowadays be doing. These fitness trainers that open up gyms and they learn how to throw a 1-2 left hook correctly, and then they think they're boxing gurus. They're gurus in their fitness world. Psychological is are very unique people that learn certain things. Certain trainers that have probably never fought, but that's very, very, very unique people that don't need to fight or never fought that became great. So at least be associated with people that you know are going to be guiding you at the same goal you're trying to pursue. But make sure that they are looking for the best of you. If they start taking things the other way around, you gotta look into that. That's one of them. Number 2, be with the people that you started with, that have been there when you have nothing. Because if you start worrying about people that you have everything, guess what? Those people are the first ones to go the minute you don't have nothing.
And lastly, Coach, if a younger you walked by that door right now, what advice would you give them?
Don't be how can I say it? Don't try to please everybody, because that could be your biggest downfall. That was my downfall to a certain extent. So most of my adult life it's been a grind. It's been not the happiest, but that's the only thing I tell myself. If I was 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, don't try to please nobody else but you, and go from there.
And if there's anything you want to reflect on or give any last thoughts on?
Repeat that question again, sorry about that.
If you could give any last reflections or any last thoughts about this, about your career, about being a business owner.
Uncomfortability is a good thing.
Okay.
Make yourself as comfortable. Make yourself feel in pain. And I'm not saying in pain and getting beat up. I'm saying being sore, being in pain. Work hard. Work as hard as you can to the point that you're dragging your feet. Because you'll see the difference by the time you reach a certain age or you're done with your career, that if you follow those careers, like I didn't do it, but if I went back to that, I would tell myself, don't eat certain things, don't drink certain things, don't do certain things, work hard, non-stop. F everybody, it's only you. And continue with that path.
All right, Coach. Well, that's all I got for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.